Awesome. Let's move on to, and I'm sure you've talked about this a ton throughout your content creation journey here, but I think it's a great topic. It can never be talked about enough because it causes a lot of confusion with people, and that's the pro rata rule, the cream in the coffee
Ooh, yes, love
of
it.
traditional IRAs it doesn't apply to the Roth IRAs or 401ks, right? Those 401ks are not aggregated, but high level, do you want to just talk us through the pro rata rule, cream in the coffee, and then I got a little example I want to work through with you.
Yeah. So generally speaking, if you have a traditional pre-tax account like an IRA, we'll just use that for the example because that's all this applies to. So you have an IRA, normally that's going to be mostly or solely pre-tax money, meaning the money you put in, you took a deduction on the amount of the contribution. Now that deduction is really just deferring the eventual realization of income tax on it. You're basically kicking the can down the road of paying tax on that money. So the money you put in has not yet been taxed. And then any growth on that money is also not yet taxed. And then eventually, whenever you take the money out of this account, it's all taxed at the time. You know, every dollar you take out is taxable as income then at the time. So that's traditional pre-tax money. But sometimes people have what's called quote unquote basis in their IRAs, which is when you make a contribution, but we're not able to deduct and defer taxation on that money. Now, this would be because like your income is too high, it phases you out from having the ability to deduct your contribution. So you can still make an after-tax contribution, you simply don't deduct that amount that year. Mm-hmm. So now that after-tax contribution, let's assume was $5,000, that's money that's already been taxed. It's still lumped together and commingled in your IRA with all the rest of the money, which is not yet tax money, but you have this $5,000 of already taxed money. Mm-hmm. That's what's called basis. And the example, the cream in the coffee example is that now you have this IRA. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead with putting some numbers on it, but
sure, no, go for it.
Let's again assume it was a $5,000 non-deductible after-tax contribution that you made at some point, and the rest of your IRA is valued at $95,000 of pre-tax money. So in total, your IRA is $100,000 total. 5% of that is after tax. Again, that was that $5,000 contribution. 95% is not yet taxed. That means whenever you take money out, whether it's through a distribution or a Roth conversion, for example, it's going to be treated such that 5% of that money that comes out will not be taxable to you at the time because that's you removing some of your money you already pay tax on. But the other 95% of that distribution or conversion will be taxable because that's deemed to be, the not yet taxed portion of your IRA. And the cream in the coffee analogy comes into play because think about it this way. You have a cup of black coffee. It's black, well, dark brown, whatever. Mm-hmm. You put a little splash of cream in it. That cream is white. Once that cream hits the coffee, you swirl it around. It's now this like homogeneous mocha colored. Mm-hmm. Every sip you take, you're taking prorated portions of some of that as cream. Most of it's coffee. Like you can't just cherry pick out just the cream at that point or just the black coffee.
Right.
Same thing applies to this IRA pro rata rule. You can't cherry pick out just the after-tax contribution or just the pre-tax money. Everything that comes out is going to be this like homogenized, swirled up, mixed, mocha-colored distribution that's part pre-tax, part already taxed.
Yeah, and so it just sets up the only issue, it's not even a problem. It's just a matter of record keeping, and that's really where it comes in. I think sometimes when people try to make Roth conversions or they're making distributions, you're going to have to constantly update and keep this tracking here. But software, can do a lot of that heavy lifting for us, right?
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's a minor nuisance if you use tax prep software. This will calculate and carry forward every year the amount of basis you have, any basis that was taken out. If you do take a distribution or conversion, it'll do the math for you. Mm-hmm. So it's far from the end of the world. Avoid it if you can, just because it's a nuisance, because this tracking will stick with you the rest of your life until the IRA or all your IRAs are fully emptied. There is one exception. I don't know if you want to get too far in the weeds here, but you can actually segregate out the cream from the coffee if you roll the coffee portion into a traditional IRA. Then you can leave behind just the after-tax cream, put in just the pre-tax coffee. That's
into
the only
into
way.
401k, right?
401k, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry if I said otherwise. Your 401k, yeah. The pre-tax money goes from the IRA to the 401k.
Right.
The after-tax money basis in the IRA stays behind. That's the only way you can sort of sift through and separate out the cream from the coffee.
And then I've never had to actually go through doing that, but my understanding is that that is a viable option. But the 401k provider does not have to allow such a roll in. So
That is correct. Yeah.
yeah, so that can be a hold up there.
It's definitely an option. I've done it a couple times, and it is at the mercy of, does that person's 401k provider allow IRA money to be rolled in? Plans do not have to allow that. The IRS does, but plans could always make their rules and requirements more strict or less lenient than what the IRS allows. So you have to check your plan to see if it's even doable.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's. I want to ratchet this up here, and this is something that came across my mind that I got to do some personal research to figure out how to approach this. But I just want to give an example of how simple things can be in retirement planning, but also how quickly complicated things get. Okay, and so let's take the same pro rata rule, the cream in the coffee, and we're going to add in annuities.
Ooh.
I know. And so I need sound effects or something. So we're adding
I'll
annuities.
do one. How's that?
Okay. So let's say hypothetically for simple numbers, and I'll try to go slowly here. So we have two traditional IRAs. One person is two traditional IRAs, right? Both have $500,000 in them. Okay, but one of them has $100,000 of basis. So 10% of their aggregate, right? But two separate IRAs. Now,
Okay.
You can use qualified, non-qualified money for annuities, right?
Yes.
So let's say you took this pre-tax traditional money and you purchased, regardless of what it is, any kind of annuity. Let's say it's an income annuity or a variable annuity at whatever reason. So you take this one annuity that has the 100,000 basis, and you bought this annuity and you annuitize it. So now it's an income stream. So I understand that we're aggregating, but this is again where things can get really complicated really quick here. So technically 10% of all of your pre-tax IRAs is basis, and 20% of this annuity, this income stream, has a return of basis. And so I'm not actually looking for any any answer, but just pointing out the complexity of it. Now, I did read something, and this is where I got to dive a little deeper. I read something that I don't know is accurate, and that's why I'm hesitant to even say it. But I read something that says if you annuitize it, the pre-tax money, and there was basis in your total IRAs, you can subtract out and not count that as having any basis anymore. And for the remaining, so let's say in our case, the remaining $500,000 traditional IRA that we didn't annuitize, that is now going to have 20% basis because the $100,000 in there. And then the annuity is going to be distributed as if it's all pre-tax traditional. What are your thoughts there? I know that's a complicated, nuanced case.
That's wild. I know exactly what you're saying. I do not know the answer. I haven't crossed this bridge yet, thankfully. But what you just said, it would be my educated guess as well, even though that doesn't sound logical. So like what I can say with pretty high level of confidence is that if you took 500,000 and bought an annuity, but it was deferred, you did not yet annuitize it.
Okay.
It's still like there's still surrender value. You can still take your ball and go home. There's still a reported, contract value to this every year. Any distribution you take out of that annuity, I do believe, would get prorated just like any other normal IRA distribution.
Sure.
Fairly confident in saying that. If, on the other hand, you did actually annuitize this, meaning like you gave up the ownership of the lump sum of the surrender value, you handed over irrevocably, handed over that $500,000 to an insurance company. In return, you just get an IOU from them saying they'll pay you whatever the math is. I don't know, 50 grand a year. I'm making that up. You're saying that whole 50 grand you can treat as just pre-tax money. You don't have to prorate that with basis and just leave the other 500,000 of normal IRA money.
Interesting, right? I mean,
I think that might be right, but it almost feels wrong conceptually. And I don't know the answer. So I'm with you that it seems right, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, that's why I was hesitant to bring it up, and I thought it'd be good to discuss. But I guess it's just an example of how complicated things can get really quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The tax issues in retirement could be really complicated. Here's just one example. Now, granted, this is an annuity. A lot of people may not have this level of complexity, but there are lots of wrinkles and hairy things that could come up in retirement income and distribution planning, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, good to know that. I was perplexed, and I was like, I hope Andy doesn't just nail this right off the bat, because I was like, I got to do some research into this.
The opinions and statements presented on this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Never make any investment or financial decisions based on information offered on this show without first consulting your financial, legal, or tax advisor. All economic and performance information mentioned on the show is historical in nature and is not indicative of any future results. All indices mentioned on this show are unmanaged and cannot be invested in directly. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. Lastly, all opinions expressed by Jason Cutitta and any guests on the show are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of or are endorsed by ToBA Financial. For Jason Cutitta, investment advisory services are offered through ToBA Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Hawaii and in other jurisdictions where exempt from registration.